Hey everybody, and thanks for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. Leading up to Avengers Endgame, we're looking back at all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies in preparation for the big event. If you'd like to join me for this journey, I welcome you to do so, and I'd love for you to do so we can talk about these movies together. We are currently on Phase 2 of the MCU, and we have hit Guardians of the Galaxy. If you'd like to talk about this movie with me, I welcome you to do so down in the comment section below. Tell me all your thoughts and opinions of what you think about Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'd love to have a conversation with you. With all that out of the way, let's talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. So Guardians of the Galaxy was directed by James Gunn. Guardians of the Galaxy brings together a band of intergalactic misfits and outcasts of Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Groot to take down Ronan the Accuser when he plans mass genocide on the planet of Xandar. This movie came out at a great time for the MCU. Up until this point, we really only had Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America movies, most of which all took place on Earth. We did have the escapism of going to Asgard with Thor, but a large majority of the Thor movies did take place on Earth. Guardians of the Galaxy was really a breath of fresh air when it first came out, because it introduced us to a bunch of new characters and let us explore the intergalactic space fantasy side of this universe. The visual style, look, and design that James Gunn and the team at Marvel put together for the intergalactic side of this universe is almost on the same level as Star Wars for me. Not only is it incredibly beautiful with tons of color and great cinematography, but the universe and all the worlds feel real and fleshed out, and the makeup designs and costumes and wardrobes and production designs for these worlds and the inhabitants of them really sucks me into this reality and makes me buy into it so much more. The escapism in this movie is some of the best in the MCU for me. The lead character of this movie is really Chris Pratt's Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, and this movie basically made Chris Pratt a household name overnight. He's a very different protagonist than we've seen in other Marvel movies up until this point. He is in no way a hero. When we first are introduced to him, he's very much a scavenger and a bandit of this galaxy. And his introduction to this movie sets up his character and the tone for this movie perfectly. It's also very reminiscent of the Indiana Jones films, and Chris Pratt's performance with his charisma and charm that he brings to this role really makes me fascinated by this character instantly, and I want to know everything about him. Also part of the Guardians crew is Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel as the voice actors for Rocket and Groot, and my personal favorite character in the movie, Dave Bautista as Drax the Destroyer. This character brings most of the humor that I love in this movie. I love that his character doesn't understand metaphors and figures of speech. It brings a lot of comedy out of him and for the situation, and it's also a nice twist on having the dumb character in the group, but also not making him a complete moron. And these characters are really the only anti-heroes that exist in the MCU. Every motivation that these characters have to do something, including why they first joined forces in the first place, is for selfish gain and money. It's only when Ronan the Accuser sets out to destroy the planet of Xandar that these characters decide to come together as a team to stop him from completing his goal. And that's where they earn their redemption, and that's where they get their title of heroes. Up until that point, they're really not doing anything heroic. But the whole group has a great dynamic together. They play off of each other really well. Those characters coming together is a lot of fun to watch. And I gotta give props to Dave Bautista, Chris Pratt, and Zoe Saldana for being able to act with a Rocket and Groot that are definitely not really there. I totally buy into the fact that when Chris Pratt's talking to Rocket, he's actually talking to Rocket. Same with Zoe Saldana and Dave Bautista when they're talking to Rocket, as well as when all those characters are talking to Groot. I never feel like they're talking or looking at a CGI'd character. I feel like they're talking to a real character, and that gives major props to the actors, the filmmakers, the animators, the CGI, and the direction. And going back to Ronan, I don't hate this villain. In fact, I think he works and serves the story that he's in very well. I feel like James Gunn and the team at Marvel were going for a kind of Darth Vader approach with him. I felt I could see a lot of similarities between Ronan in this movie and Darth Vader at the beginning of the first Star Wars movie, or Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope as it's known nowadays. He's feared by many in the galaxy, has a lot of power, and uses people to enforce his executions and torments on people. He also has a deep bass voice kind of similar to Vader, and he encapsulates the idea of just what evil is. He also has his version of the Emperor that he answers to in Thanos. This movie gives us the first real look and appearance of Thanos in this universe, and this is really before he was given any kind of character. The character of Thanos in this movie is way different in motivation, style, look, and personality from the Thanos that we'll meet in Infinity War. He has none of the sympathetic traits or motivations that he has that makes him such a great villain in Infinity War. He's really just a big bad guy, generic kind of villain who wants to destroy everything, kill people, destroy planets, and is almost bloodthirsty in a way. And even though this character, when you watch Infinity War, he feels kind of inconsistent going back to this version, it's still really cool to see Thanos show up in this universe and in this movie. And this is really the first real mention and setup for the Infinity Stones. We hadn't really gotten anything about the Infinity Stones up until this point in this universe. Yeah, we had the Tesseract in the Avengers movie, and we had the Aether in Thor the Dark World, but they never name-dropped them as Infinity Stones until the post-credit scenes of Thor the Dark World when the Warriors 3 takes the Aether to the Collector, who also appears in this movie to give us the exposition and description of what the Infinity Stones are and to tell us the backstory and history of them. And as we know, both Thanos and the Infinity Stones have a major role to play later on in this universe, so it's really cool to see them pop up in this movie for the first kind of real appearance and debut in this universe. And of course, you can't talk about Guardians of the Galaxy without mentioning the music in this film. The way that James Gunn incorporated music into this world feels really organic and naturally placed in the movie, because all the music is a part of Star-Lord's little music player that he has from Earth when he was abducted. He had this like Walkman that he brought with him, so he has a bunch of songs from Earth from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And the way that they use the song, they really only use the songs when that player is around, which was a really great and cool idea because it takes this player and makes it kind of a character in the movie. The songs don't feel like they're jarred in, they feel like they naturally flow within the narrative. There's really only one or two scenes that I can think of where the music was played and the player wasn't around, but for the majority of this movie, the music only plays when the player is nearby, and that really helps the music fit into this movie much more. And it's also something that we can relate to because since the music is from Earth, we recognize it, and it's something that we can relate to. So while we're in this galaxy that feels really foreign and unknown to us, we have that music that we're so familiar with that helps the audience relate more to the movie. And I think that that was a brilliant decision. In the end, James Gunn delivered a fantastic space fantasy film, not just in the MCU, but this movie really works on its own. There isn't too much in this movie that chains it to the MCU. You can watch this movie separately, never haven't seen the MCU, and you'll understand this movie, you'll fall for these characters most likely, and you're gonna love this movie even if you haven't seen any of the MCU movies. And so having this great space fantasy that James Gunn brought to us, and having it in this MCU, is really just a bonus. And Guardians of the Galaxy delivers great characters, great effects, great action, and a great adventure that has kept me coming back to this movie for years, and will keep me coming back to this movie for years to come. Well guys, there are my thoughts on the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but I'm sure there's a lot that I missed that I didn't talk about that you'd love to talk about, and I'd love to hear all your thoughts and opinions. Leave them down below in the comments section, and let's have a fun conversation going. Guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. I'm going to be back soon talking more MCU movies. If you'd like to join me for this journey, I welcome you to do so, and I'd love for you to do so as we talk about these movies together all the way up until Avengers Endgame is released. Once again guys, my name's Zachary Milne. Thanks for talking movies with me, and I hope you have yourself a great day.